going on, y'all? My name is Damien, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about and share with y'all how I built my DevSecOps Homelab for less than 350 bucks. In this video, I'm basically going to cover the architecture diagram of the servers. I'm going to tell y'all the story behind me getting the servers and just share some tips on why I think you guys should be building your own home lab and what are some of the benefits of building your home lab. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So before we get into the story and me sharing the hardware specifications with y'all, let me just explain to y'all 3 key reasons why I would recommend that you guys build DevSecOps Home Lab if you're interested. So the first thing is that you can get the hands-on experience that you need at a much lower cost compared to having to do everything or doing everything in the cloud, simply because you don't necessarily have to worry about spending money on keeping resources up, right? So if you want to keep your servers up at home for however long you want to, without necessarily having to terminate them and lose what you've already configured, you don't have to worry about that. It's because you control it. The only thing you have to worry about, obviously, is your electric bill. But other than that, I'm pretty sure you should be good to go. The second thing is, and this is the most important, is that it's a safe environment that you've created for experimentation. So you can get as crazy as you want. You can create as many, or you can install as many tools, software packages, CI/CD solutions and stuff that you want in your home lab. And you can just do whatever you want. It's your home lab, so you can do whatever you want. You can experiment as much as possible. And the third thing is, while you're doing all of this, you can actually start building out your portfolio and sharing what you've done and what you've built with the wider community. Because at the end of the day, when you're looking for a job or if you're trying to get into this field, being able to articulate and explain what it is that you've built will be a lot easier once you've actually built it and documented it. And if you have a home lab to show it, you'll definitely impress a lot of recruiters and people who want to hire you on as a DevSecOps engineer, whether it be on-prem or in the cloud. All right, so now that we covered the reasons why you should build the DevSecOps Home Lab, I'm going to talk a little bit about the story as to how I even purchased the hardware, or what led me to purchasing this hardware to begin with, right? Where did I go? So back when I first started my journey in tech, I used to go to Goodwill Computer Works to purchase hardware for the low. Like, you can buy a monitor at Goodwill Computer Works, a good one if you can find it, for like 30 to 50 bucks back then. And that was like maybe a good 10 years ago, 10 to 8 years ago. Now, I still definitely wanted to go to Goodwill Computer Works to be able to get some hardware, because I know they do have some hardware lying around that have been donated from old businesses and, people who don't use their computers and et cetera, et cetera. But unfortunately, there were no Goodwill Computer Works shops within my local area. So my next idea to be able to build a DevSecOps home lab cheaply was to check out my local pawn shops. So I went to one of the pawn shops in my local area, and I just walked in and just started looking at some of the computers that they had. And one of them that I went to didn't really have anything. And they were trying to charge me like $200 for an old beat up laptop. And I'm like, nah, bro, like that laptop didn't even have a 16 gigs of RAM to begin with. And I wasn't looking for a laptop. I was looking for like an actual desktop. I didn't care about the monitor. I didn't care about a keyboard set coming with it or none of that. I was just going to set them up as servers. So fast forward, I ended up going to another pawn shop within my local area, and I literally struck gold. And when I say I struck gold, I was just like, yo, y'all got these computers in here and y'all don't even know what y'all got. So let me show y'all what it is that I bagged from the pawn shop that I went to and how much. And if you want receipts, I got the receipt right. If you want receipts, I got the receipt right here with the information. And as you can see, if I just go a little bit, you'll be able to see, bam, 200. So aside from this Raspberry Pi that's in right here, these are the 2 servers that I got from the pawn shop. This one costed me about $100, and that included a mouse and keyboard and monitor set along with it. This one has an i7 and a about 16 gigs of RAM inside of it. So no work needed to be done here. It came just ready right out the box, aside from, of course, installing Ubuntu on it. And then this one underneath here, the Pro Desk, this one has an i5 in it. I don't remember which generation it is, but it's pretty fast. And it initially came with 8 gigs of RAM. So I had to beef this one up to about 64 gigs because I'm running a whole bunch of stuff on this one. And this, for just the brain alone, costed me about $85. And that also included a mouse and keyboard set from the pawn shop. So the total for these two with RAM included, this is the copy of it that's inside of here, was about $320. So now we saw the setup, you saw what I have kind of and how I have it wired. So let me show y'all the packages and tools and whatnot that I have installed on each server, and the write-up on how I did everything, and just discuss the architecture diagram with y'all so you can kind of see, what I've done. So this is basically the new website / UI that I have been building for the DevSec Blueprint. And the most important part about this that I want y'all to understand is that this is the DevSecOps Homelab section that I basically wrote all the documentation for my entire project. So I'm basically going to just kind of go over the architecture diagram with you and then kind of map everything back to what I've deployed. I mean, not deployed, but what I have on the systems that I showed y'all earlier in the video. So let's talk through it and let's talk about it. But essentially, this is the home lab architecture diagram. So there's two Ubuntu servers that I ended up configuring. The one that has the 64 gigs of RAM is the DSB hub. And as you can see, I have a couple of things on here that's installed. I got Git, which is basically like GitHub, but a very, very lightweight version of it. It's also open source and I've used it in the past. I highly recommend it if you want to have your own source code management repository deployed locally. It's really, really nice. And they've also created or enabled a new feature called Git Actions, which is basically like GitHub Actions, but in a Git form. And it's pretty cool, even though I haven't used it, but I'm just throwing it out there. Git is amazing. I would recommend using it over GitLab. When it comes down to Jenkins, I'm using Jenkins for, building out my Jenkins pipelines and deploying things from this server onto the node. Docker is used for building Docker containers. There's Trivy for IAC, security vulnerability scanning, and there's SonarQube or Sonar for performing SAS scans and checking for test code coverage and stuff like that. And then last but not least, and this was a fairly new addition, but I'm using Nessus as a way to be able to proxy and store my dependencies for like Python and PM, and also like create a registry for my Docker containers that I build locally within my environment. So I have an artifact repository. So if you're familiar with Artifactory, then Nessus is basically Artifactory, right? And all of these are open source. All these are free tools that you can download, you can install. So nothing that I have listed here you need to pay for, including Ubuntu. Nginx is the reverse proxy that I have set up on each one of these boxes. And that's mostly just for, any traffic that I have on port 80 or 443. I basically configured it to route it through. Good thing is, in this page, I also kind of list out what each of the things are. For the DSB node 01, this also includes, like Prometheus and Grafana to be able to keep track and, monitor the systems and applications that are running on this system. And then Grafana is used for basically like creating those dashboards to be able to visualize what's happened on your server. I've already documented everything as far as what you need to know about each one of the various different tools, which is awesome. And eventually, by completing this project, you'll definitely learn like how to basically set up your own DevSecOps servers or DevSecOps Homelab using just 2 servers. And in each one of these, I basically documented everything So you can go through and set this up, and I'll make sure I add this into the description as well. But if you're definitely willing to go through and try to complete this home lab, not be disappointed. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I'm still building onto it to this day because it's my home lab, and that's the whole point of a home lab. Continue to build, continue to accelerate or iterate on new things, add it into your pipelines, and just go crazy with it. Just want to point out a few things. So if you pursue going this route, make sure you pay attention to the versions that I specified and follow them exactly, install the exact ones for maximum compatibility. And also, by the time the video drops, this documentation will be a lot more polished. And that wraps up this video, y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate the support. If I have inspired you to go to your local Goodwill or pawn shop to buy some hardware to build your DevSecOps Home Lab, please leave me a like, subscribe, and also drop a comment below. Let me know what else you think or what else you want to see on this channel. If you think this video is going to benefit a friend, definitely share with them because, sharing is caring. And with that, thank you guys again. And I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Later.